Nothing about Dennis Rodman was predictable, whether it was being drafted out of an NAIA school or at 6'7", becoming an all-time great rebounder, leading the league 7 times. A 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, he won a total of 5 championships with the Pistons and the Bulls.
Jordan feeds Pippen, who's backhand.
Wow.
Dunks.
Holy mackerel.
Blocked it.
That's a highlight film. Believe me, that right there, that belongs in a highlight film.
Worm, I think the Worm just doesn't get a lot of credit for how smart he was, how good his basketball IQ was. You know, he did all the dirty work, you know, dove on the ground, you know, took charges, got into people's heads, you know, frustrated them. But the Worm had a very, very good IQ. And a lot of people really didn't know that about him. They just thought he was just a crazy man running around with, you know, all kind of colors in his head. But it was a reason why he fit in with Chicago was because of his IQ. Dennis Rodman didn't care about scoring the ball. You know, Dennis Rodman can go 0 points, but 15 rebounds. He take 2 charges, may give 4 or 5 assists. He impacted the game where it's not really in the stat sheets other than the rebounding. And that's why he was so successful. And for a guy to make it to the Hall of Fame, you know, and not being a scorer, like just a straight, like, I love playing defense. I'm going to lock you down tonight. That was Dennis Rodman.
That's one of the greatest defensive players to ever play this game. That's a fierce competitor. Dennis wasn't much of a talker as much as he was like a pest. Would try to get in your head and do stuff to try to get you out of your game. That was his strong suit.
All they doing now is trying to mess with me, try to get in my head. But they don't understand, though. You can't mess with the master. You can't mess with the master.
Tex, when you talk to me every practice, said, Dennis, this all you got to do is this a triangle, this. And I picked it up pretty easy because I knew it. I didn't have to shoot the ball. I just got to get the rebound, play defense, and give it back to the people that needed to score.
The main thing I used to marvel how he would stand straight up. He showed no tendencies to butt that, you know, the basics of defense and how you do it. The guy could run all day. He could run all day, man, in the game. He never got tired. That's why you saw him diving in the stands all over the floor.
That's it. Come on. Rodman embarrassing the Knicks now off the glass.
He was in after the game. He used to ride the stationary bike. When he was with the Pistons, he was quiet and shy. He was just into basketball because he was unheralded coming out of college, and he had to earn it, man. He had to work his way into the league and get the respect of people, and you know, and that's what he did early on in his career. So, still, I think one of the best rebounders and defensive players ever.
Calling Dennis the menace of the Worm right here, 6'7", 210 pounds of fury.
Dennis, when you were 19, 20 years old, I bet you never thought that one day you would hang an NBA All-Star jersey up on your wall.
Not at all. I didn't expect to have anything hanging up on the wall. I know I wasn't there because I was a scoring machine. I was there because I worked my butt off. I didn't know it was going to be this, but the way I am today.
I always feel like you really cannot talk about the NBA from a historical perspective without talking about Dennis Rodman. Because in my opinion, that's how much of an impact that he made, which is rare for someone with his notoriety that don't have no interest in scoring the basketball. And that's normally where you get most of your glory from is offensively. But he took pride on the defensive end, and at 6'8", I think he led the league in rebounding 7 consecutive years, and a heck of a defensive player also.
There's no place to throw it. Hakeem inside, shot short. There's the horn, overtime.
I came in 96, 97, 98, right during that championship run and played against them. And obviously we know how great the Bulls were and how dominant they were. And you understood why. Dennis Rodman's the best rebounder that I ever went against, the strongest guy I ever went against. A guy it was virtually impossible for me to post up, just too strong. And I played against Dennis Rodman in the era where you can hand check. And that's the worst to be because that's where he's at his best because he's able to use his body and hand check and control you.
I can't be like all the rest of these people here and try to be something that I'm not. What you see is what you get. If you don't like it, that's your tough luck. But I'm just trying to go out there and play for the people, make people happy. That's it.
Isaiah Thomas, let's talk about one of your teammates in Dennis Rodman. We know him as a rebounding specimen.
Yeah.
What was that like being up close with that?
Really, he was a basketball genius. Not only a rebounding genius, but defensively, you know, just a a basketball genius in terms of how do you stop people from scoring, how do you defend, how do you rebound. And you got to remember, we was in an era where people really got paid for their offense. You didn't get paid for rebounding. And rebounding wasn't anything that was in fashion. Dennis Rodman, the way he rebounded the basketball and the way he played, he made rebounding and defense sexy. You know, and not only did he make it sexy, he also figured out how to get paid for just rebounding and playing defense. And again, in our era, you didn't get paid for rebounding. And I remember, you know, we in the layup line, and I was on him about, hey man, you know, you got to get loose. You got to, you know, get some layups. And he's like, no, I want to watch, you know, the rotation of the ball, how many times guys, you know, he was counting the rotation, like Joe's ball, like, you know, spins like 3 times in the air. You know, this guy spins like 2. And I had never heard anyone talk about rebounding in such a scientific way. You know, this one, when he shoot, his ball is going to bounce short. Mm-hmm. This one's going to bounce long. This one's going to bounce over. He knew everybody's shot pattern and also the science of it, which was, you know, fascinating to me. And defensively, never out of position. Never out of position. I mean, just a great teammate.
Dennis Rodman, with the rebounding, turned it into an art form.
Yeah.
You saw the science of it. What about the heart of it?
The crazy intensity and tenacity that he went after the basketball with, as, you know, a rebounder. And it was something that I had never seen or experienced, you know, out on the floor, where a guy went after every rebound or every loose ball like it was the biggest play of the game. And not only was he rebounding, you would see Dennis going, you know, chasing a loose ball out of bounds. And normally guys would dive and try to spike it back in and, you know, get a roll. He would lay out, you know, full, like diving for a loose ball, like he was diving in the swimming pool. And if he caught it, right, and threw it back in, he would be so happy with himself that the fans watching him would be like, they would have to clap because he was so excited that he got that loose ball. That's the type of intensity and energy that he played with, and ferocity that he went after every single ball. Like, you know, a guy, like he came in the locker room one night, I forget who he was playing. He said, you know, I want to try to get 40 rebounds. I'm like, why would you even think that? No, I'm used to guys coming in saying, I'm going to get 40 points tonight. Mm-hmm. I had never in my life heard someone say, I'm going to get 30 rebounds tonight, or I'm going to get 40 rebounds tonight. He was the only one that I ever heard really talk about rebounding and enjoyed it in such a fashion that way.
The best game I've ever seen Dennis Rodman played, I had one of the best seats in the house because it was against my beloved Indiana Pacers. March 4th, 1992, we're an upstart young Indiana Pacers team. They were still the bad boys of the Central Division of the Eastern Conference and champions and so forth. In Detroit, here we are trying to make a name for ourselves. And it was a pretty good game, but Dennis Rodman put on an absolute rebounding clinic.
Top of the key, no. Rebound, Rodman. Great pass by Worm.
Again, Rodman keeping it alive. How many times does he get his hands on the basketball?
His career high, 34 rebounds, 18 of them at the offensive end. We went down in overtime to the Pistons, but it was an unbelievable rebounding performance by the Worm, the great one, Dennis Rodman.
I'll tell you, that Dennis Rodman is a one-man wrecking crew.